the Metrodome tonight for the Little Brown Jug battle in the Big Ten between the number 10 rated Michigan Wolverines and the homestanding Golden Gophers of the University of Minnesota. In the Big Ten race, Michigan, along with everybody else, still trailing Northwestern, which got another hairbreadth victory earlier today over Illinois. Ohio State right now beating Iowa. Michigan State has already won. Michigan hopes to improve on their 2-1 start in the Big Ten race. Dave Barnett along with Private First Class Todd Christensen. With Michigan hoping to get to their first Rose Bowl, Todd, in 4 years, a lot of their hopes will be pinned on what they hope will be a healthy and on-track quarterback, Scott Dreisbach.
He did have the shoulder problems 2 weeks ago against Northwestern, but without a bona fide tailback like Tumanga Biakabatuka, the onus of the Michigan offense has fallen squarely on the shoulders of Dreisbach. He has responded with 4 straight 200-yard games. He's going to have to continue to make the big plays for the Wolverines. On the defensive side of the ball, no such problems. Butkus Award candidate Jared Irons has spearheaded a defense that has only given up 6 touchdowns the last 6 games. On the other side, Minnesota needs to go to the wells, Bellwell and Outwell, for the big plays for Minnesota to have any chance this evening.
The Little Brown Jug has resided in Ann Arbor for 9 years in a row. No team has ever won this series 10 consecutive years. Something to think about as we send you to the studio and Mike Adamle.
First, Jim Wacker looking for his first Big Ten win. The kickoff coming up next.
Set for 5-1 Michigan, 2-1 in the Big Ten, and 3-3 Minnesota. They won their first 3. They are trying tonight to end a 3-game losing streak against the Wolverines. Third member of our crew, let's welcome Pam Ward.
All right, Dave and Todd. Michigan's biggest offensive threat this year plays defense, at least most of the time. Charles Woodson was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year last year, made it as a cornerback. He leads the team with 3 interceptions this year, but it's on offense where he's done the most damage. 5 catches this year. He's also rushed the ball 4 times for 141 yards, including this 48-yard scamper on a reverse for a touchdown against Indiana last week. Woodson ran for over 2,000 yards in high school, and his senior season alone scored 230 points. He came to Michigan, played defense because he wanted to play right away. But a la Deion Sanders, look for Charles Woodson to play on both sides of the ball tonight. Dave?
Todd, they are talking about that young man in terms of the all-time best athletes ever to play for the Michigan football program.
So that brings up a very good point, Dave, and that is why not get the ball in his hands. They've struggled with the running game. Why not put the youngster at tailback? After the loss of Biakabatuka, even though Williams has done an adequate job, certainly not what they're used to in the running game. I'm surprised that young man hasn't been put at tailback more often.
Minnesota has won the toss. They elect to defer, and Adam Bailey gets us underway. Tyrone Butterfield will handle it at the goal line for Michigan. And he's got room up the right sideline, and a fine return for the sophomore out of Miami. Out across the 35, and we'll see the Wolverines go to work with sophomore quarterback Scott Dreisbach. Mishawaka, Indiana product, currently 3rd in the Big Ten in total offense. Ty Streets is their leading receiver, 27 catches. Still looking for his first touchdown. He hopes that comes tonight. Rod Payne can snap with either hand. That's a good thing because he's got a broken bone in his right hand tonight and will snap strictly with his left. Clarence Williams is the lone setback and takes the handoff from Dreisbach. Dances past the line of scrimmage for about 5 or 6 yards to the 42-yard line. As we look at the Minnesota defense, ranked 9th overall in the Big Ten, Jerome Davis, the captain, in his 22nd consecutive start. Park Williams leads him in tackles, 57 on the year. And in the secondary for the Golden Gophers, Rodney Heath in his 29th consecutive start. Among the top interceptors in Minnesota history with 9 in his career. Senior from Cincinnati. Officially on the first down carry, and whistles and flags before the snap on what was 2nd down and 4. David Whitboth is our referee this evening. And we can tell you that in the major battle in the Big Ten today, Ohio State has held off Iowa 38-26. That is now a final. Lloyd Carr in his 2nd year as the head man in Ann Arbor, a 14-5 record. Earned it after 15 years as an assistant coach, including 8 as the defensive coordinator from 1987 through 94. And a 5-1 mark so far this year. Markoff brings up 2nd and 9. And again, it's Williams. This time the Gophers react quickly, and they're ready. And the hit made by Donnie Dalton, the outside linebacker for Minnesota.
Defensive coordinator Tim Rose said that Minnesota would have to take some chances, and that's exactly what they did in this case. They came with 7, even though they had the 3 wide receiver set. Michigan trying to change up offensively. Dalton shot the gap, dropped the runner for the loss.
So Minnesota hoping for this good start defensively, turn the ball over to their often explosive offense. And so far, nothing doing offensively for the Wolverines. On 3rd and 10, Dreisbach rolling to his left after play action, has to tuck and run, and will settle for a gain of about 6 yards, only to the 44-yard line.
Part of the problem with that particular play is that even though he had the great play action fake, there was only 1 receiver in the pattern. Minnesota in the zone coverage. Watch as he pivots and rolls outside. Only 1 man. He's double covered. Now he has to head upfield. And once again, Dreisbach showing some great athleticism, refuses to just slide. Nudges forward, shows some great power, but still comes out about 3 yards short.
So Paul Peristeris on to punt to Rodney Heath. And he booms a nice one. Heath lets it go over his head, hopes it continues to hop. 1 more bounce on to do it, and on into the end zone it goes. So for Peristeris, a 56-yarder, 2 off the longest of his season. And we'll see Corey Sauter, the junior from Hutchinson, Minnesota, currently 4th in the Big Ten in passing, 2nd in total offense. Thomas Hamner, a freshman from Hamilton, Ohio, 5th in the Big Ten, averaging 102 yards per game. Gan Brooks, one of many Texans out of Alvarado, captain, a 3-year starter, his 23rd consecutive opening appearance at the right tackle spot for the Golden Gophers. They send Mark Tangen, the 2nd tight end, in motion, and Sauter having to scramble away from trouble. Runs out of room and will settle for a 5-yard loss back inside the 15, where Ben Huff, along with David Bowens, there to chase him out of bounds. And Bowens is a name we'll call probably quite a bit today. 8 sacks for the true sophomore from Pontiac, Michigan. The linebacker is among the best in the country. Jarrett Irons, 54 stops on the year, leads them in that statistic for the 3rd time in his 4 years. Charles Woodson, we've already talked about. He will open at the weak corner, but we expect to see quite a bit of him on the offensive side as well. Jarrett Irons already named as a Butkus Award semifinalist. That means he is in the final 11 linebackers nationally, still in contention for that honor. Sauter, for the first time today, connecting with Ryan Thelwell, who has become the all-time Minnesota leader in receiving yards for his career, better than 1,720.
This is a great matchup to watch throughout the game. Ryan Thelwell, their best receiver, 6'2", 200 pounds, against the great athlete Woodson. Just a hitch route, 3-step drop. Sauter gets the ball out quickly. Thelwell with the spin move tries to get away from Woodson, but cannot. And actually, you could debate there that maybe the ball was stripped before he hit the ground.
There's the numbers for Thelwell, tied for 3rd all-time. Actually now breaks that tie with his 112th catch of his very productive 3 years at Minnesota. Sauter from the shotgun on 3rd and 7. Thelwell with a step on Woodson. And up the side he goes. They chase him down at the 20 after a gain of 57 yards.
A little bit of a hitch move. They went to the left side and it was successful. Now they go with a little bit of a hitch and go, and that enables him to get wide open. The protection is outstanding. You can see Woodson now all of a sudden has to turn and run because he's been fooled by Thelwell on the move. And Woodson drags him down, but here's a critical play. Take another look here and look closely if we can stop it right after the catch when Woodson strips him. Take a look and see as to whether or not this might be a fumble. Take a look now as Woodson takes the ball. So that, is he down yet? The ball's out and he's not down. That's a fumble. Unfortunately for Michigan, unfortunately for Minnesota, they didn't call it. The drive continues.
And from just inside the 20, 1st and 10, stung for a loss on the big hit by the nose tackle William Carr. And an injured Golden Gopher down on the field. As you look at what happened to Thomas Hamner.
William Carr has been somebody who has really been hitting some people, but he doesn't have the numbers to show for it. He's a little bit frustrated because his sacks and tackles were down. But as I tried to explain to some of the people mentioning this to me, is that, hey, he is a nose tackle. He's a defensive tackle. He's not somebody who necessarily is supposed to get numbers. He's supposed to plug gaps and stuff running games, and that's exactly what he's been doing up to this point.
Well, the injured Gopher is Tutu Atwell, a major cog in their offense. So we'll break scoreless, but Minnesota driving early in the first.
Presentation of college football is brought to you by No Touch Rain Shield. Coat your windshield to repel rain, sleet, and snow.
Tutu Atwell able to walk off after getting shaken up. Jim Wacker in his 5th year at the University of Minnesota. 12th winningest active coach in America, ahead of people like George Welsh, John Cooper, Jackie Sherrill, Dick Tomey, among some other prominent names. On the draw, Hamner bounces outside and is run out of bounds at the original line of scrimmage, the 20 by Marcus Ray, the strong safety. Hamner 3rd nationally among freshman running backs this year with 610 yards coming in.
And I think one of the reasons why he has not been accrued the notoriety maybe he deserves is because everybody is aware of the wells, as we mentioned them, Atwell and Thelwell, and of course Souter. He hasn't been getting much attention, but you can see that those yards per game are outstanding. That's nothing to sneeze at.
3rd down and a long 10 call at 11. Sauter has it knocked down by blitzing Clint Copenhaver, 43, the outside linebacker, and the promising drive because of the 58-yard hookup with Thelwell now they hope will result at least in a field goal by Adam Bailey.
Well, on the good side of that, though, the ball was intended for Atwell, so obviously he wasn't shaken up as much as we might have anticipated, and so there'll be a field goal attempt of right around 38-39.
Bailey, very productive sophomore from Burnsville, Minnesota, leads the Big Ten 5th nationally. Better than 1.8 field goals on average per game. He's 11 of 14 for the year. This one from 38 yards is no good. And the Golden Gophers get nothing out of the big hookup between Sauter and Thelwell. So we are still scoreless, 10-19 to go in the first.
Part of the problem that Minnesota has had all year has been the snaps. Take a look at the high snap right here. Holder makes the catch, gets it down, and look how close this is. Almost right over the top, but it is just a little bit to the right. In sync a lot of times. Kickers get blamed for misses, but it requires a good snap and a good hold for the success of the kick to come to fruition.
So having dodged that bullet, Michigan back to work with Clarence Williams again. Sophomore running back from Detroit. Big shoes to fill, Tim Biakabatuka. And he backed up last year. But he backed him up well enough to earn a nickname. That's tough to do as a freshman second teamer. The Blur. Clarence The Blur Williams. Good for 4 yards, 2nd and 6. Reisbach again with the handoff to Williams, and again tries the middle to about the 28, where he's hit by the strong safety Tyrone Carter. Now the Michigan running backs, if you measure them against last year, as spectacular as Biakabatuka's numbers were, then you know individually they don't stack up, but as a group not bad between Williams, his backup Howard, and the redshirt freshman John Ames.
But guess what, folks? It doesn't work this way. That's not how it works at all, because one of the things deceiving about that, Biakabatuka last year had 10 rushes of over 30 yards by himself. This year, the entire contingent of Michigan runners has had only 2. So even though they're getting the yards, they have to get them the hard way. They haven't been having the big game-breaking situations that they had last year. Hence the reason why the Michigan faithful have been a little bit frustrated in terms of their Wolverine offense.
So the injured man is Zach Adamy, junior right guard from Maumelle, Arkansas. So he limps off as the Wolverines come to the line on a 3rd and 2. Williams again, and with a cutback, he'll have the first down at about 3 or 4 extra out near the 35-yard line.
justified his nickname right there. He became a blur to the blitzing Minnesotans. Take a look. It looks like they're going to have him right at the 30. Watch the right of your screen. Watch the cutback right there. Bow. Cuts off the right foot, leaves people in his wake. Nobody there to make the tackle. The secondary came up. It appeared that Craig Scruggs had a good shot at him, but he just left him in his tracks. Good-looking cutback there by the youngster.
8 plays so far for Michigan, and Williams has carried on 5 of them for a total of 19 yards. 1st and 10, the 35. Play fake. Dreisbach rolling the other way, and wide open the tight end Mark Campbell, and big yardage for Mark Campbell on his 9th catch of the year. 27 yards.
Great play action fake. Both tight ends are there. Now here's one of the difficulties when you have a small secondary. The big bodies come downfield. Take a look at the block that he gets out front by the other tight end that enables him to get some extra yardage. Jeremy Tooman is the man that put the block on the 5'9", 170-pound Scruggs, enabling the other tight end to get downfield and get the extra yardage. Campbell has to be grateful to his counterpart for adding to his yards per reception.
Well set up after give after give after give to Williams. They fake to Williams. Nobody follows Campbell. He goes in motion. Back to Williams they go. And a quick reacting Golden Gopher defense. Rufus Shaw. Rufus Smith, I should say, inside linebacker from Miami Springs, Florida, up for the tackle.
Tim Rose, defensive coordinator for Minnesota, pointed out to us that they need to take some chances. They realize that physically they cannot match up with Michigan 7-on-7. So they need to take some shots, shoot some gaps. There's defensive coordinator Tim Rose, who's done a very good job this year, considering this is his first time around. Animated as so many other coordinators are. He was very candid with us, though, in terms of the strengths and weaknesses of his defense.
Yeah, remember, direct quote, we got to play out of our minds, and Michigan's got to help. Dreisbach going deep for Ty Streets. Touchdown. Well, as we said, he had been their leading receiver this year, but had not cracked the end zone until now. On his 28th catch of the year, he finally has 6.
Rashawn Early, the strong safety who is in the deep zone, gets caught looking in the backfield, and that's what you just can't do. Give you a chance to take a look at this after the extra point. Once again, Dreisbach showing a great acuity for his play action fakes, doing an outstanding job.
Ryan Greasy on the hold. The Remy Hamilton extra point is good. 7-0 Michigan on the 36-yard Dreisbach to Streets connection. Midway in the first.
His leading receiver Ty Streets just runs the basic post route, but he gets some help. Take a look now as he cuts across the field. Watch, you'll see number 42, if you can stop it right. Keep going just a little bit more. Right here, stop. You can see where's his face. Right there, he's looking in the backfield. Unfortunately, his face should be with his. That's the mistake that he makes, and as a result, he's not running with his man. The ball goes over his head. Cardinal sin of defensive backs is looking in the backfield when you have a man in your area. Dreisbach able to take advantage.
The Jay Feely kickoff is a nice deep one, and Tyrone Carter will accept the touchback. Right now, let's check into the studio with Mike Adamle.
Well, Dave and Todd out in Boulder, Colorado has lived by the sword. They were hoping tonight not to perish by it. Texas trailing late in the game. The Hail Mary, James Brown to Michael Adams. Would it be? Could it be? No, it falls harmlessly to the ground, and Colorado hangs on to win 28-24.
Hey, these Michigan guys have seen that play.
Yes, they have. Been a real tough luck season for Texas. After that Notre Dame game, they have really gone south.
The Michigan drive right after Minnesota fails to cash in even 3 points worth on their opening possession. So back to work. Coming from behind, over the middle, a catch by Hamner. Just his 6th of the year. They don't use him that much as a pass receiver, but he knows what to do with it.
I like his acceleration once he gets the ball and turns upfield. So many times when you time people in 40-yard dashes, they get in shorts, they run, and you say, hey, this guy's fast. But is he football fast? Hamner's the guy that catches the ball and from a dead start is able to turn upfield and get the first down. I like this young man's feet.
And he can identify with what Clarence Williams is going through this year, because he's replacing a legend too, Chris Darkins, who set the Minnesota rushing record last year, better than 1,400 yards. Hamner again. Let's get an update on the condition of Zach Adamy from Pam. Pam?
All right, Dave, and he's standing on the sideline. Paul Schmidt, the trainer, has taped up his right ankle. Paul says it's an ankle sprain. He's going to try to go back into the game, but right now it's a little questionable how long he can go. Dave?
Former Arkansas High School Player of the Year from near Little Rock.
Look on his face indicated a fair amount of pain.
Yeah. You have to say questionable at best, his return. 2nd and 3. And good for first down yardage. On the catch, Greg Nelson. The flanker, junior out of Dallas. He's hit by the corner, Woodrow Hankins.
Greg Nelson needed to cut up field to the outside. He ends up taking a smack as a result of turning back inside with no momentum. But as you pointed out, he did get the first down. Interesting call there, 2nd and 3 to go to the shotgun. Trying to mix things up.
Bob DeBest, the offensive coordinator for Minnesota, saying yesterday they have got to get at least a semblance of a running game. They can't rely strictly on the pass and have any hope at all of staying with Michigan. Sauter so far 4 of 5 through the air, but on the ground this time is Javon Jackson, and a loose ball. Michigan hoping at least that it's loose underneath that pile at midfield, but no signal yet. Wolverines are sure they've got it. But and they are incorrect. Minnesota recovers at midfield.
Good cut up field, trying to go against the grain, cutting back. It appeared right there that Javon Jackson had some room, but watch right here from the back. There it is at number 6. David Bowen strips him. The ball lays loose. There's a sprint for it. Getting there first, it appears, was Woodrow Hankins, but it was recovered by the right guard, Tim Sosha.
Over the middle, and a nice spin move for a first down by Hamner. So Sauter perhaps discovering another target in this first quarter. Hamner a couple of nice catches after coming in with only 5 receptions on the year. Another first down to the 43 of Michigan.
Well, Michigan makes no secret of the fact that they like to play the zone defense, and one of the ways of beating the zone defense, of course, is to throw the ball underneath. And why not get into the hands of your best runner, in this case Hamner, who has proven to be, even though he had only 5 receptions coming into this game, a very reliable receiver coming out of the backfield.
Good numbers for Corey Sauter. Engineer the 2nd-ranked passing attack in the Big Ten. Michigan the 2nd-ranked pass defense in the conference. And that one almost stolen by Jared Irons, right in his hands, as Sauter that time tried to force one into Thelwell.
You know, one of the things I like about Jared Irons, besides the obvious, when he makes plays, watch him make the play here. Middle linebackers aren't supposed to be able to cover and show some range. Number 37 gets out there to watch him. He doesn't jump up and down, doesn't do a somersault, doesn't have to chest bump. It's like it's part of the job description for him. He just goes out there and plays very hard. Let me get this out of the way in the first quarter. Yes, I did play with his dad. Okay, enough said.
You don't mind dating yourself.
That's all right. Gerald was a stud, too, boy.
Former Raider and Brown. Jackson. Good vision to see the cutback there. He was originally supposed to go around right end. Not much room there, so he darted back inside. Picks up about 5 to the 38-yard line.
One of the things that is happening is that Michigan is excellent at reading keys. They see the pulling guard and they run with them, and as a result, Minnesota's been able to take advantage a little bit of the over pursuit and cutbacks, getting 5-6 yards a carry. Now, crucial 3rd down for Minnesota.
Greg Madison, the defensive coordinator for Michigan.
You mentioned Bob DeBest, the offensive coordinator of Minnesota. Great respect for this man. He said he very much likes the schemes that he puts together.
And we'll have a timeout called by the Golden Gophers as they think about a 3rd and 5 with 4:11 to go in the first, trailing by 7. Well, Minnesota showing the ability to move the ball, but as of yet, they haven't been able to cash it in. They missed a 38-yard field goal after a 58-yard pass to Ryan Thelwell. Now they've got it moving again, but they look at 3rd and 5 from the Michigan 38. Sauter from the shotgun, and that's now going to be a 3rd and 10 as the left guard Chris Bergstrom pulled out early.
Well, certainly noise wasn't a problem there with Minnesota on offense. He just misread the count.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Down remains 3rd.
Yeah, I think that call. I think that's penalty.
It's always amazing when that happens after a timeout. I mean, when you've had extra time to get all your signals ready. Here's Bob DeBess. He has hooked up with Greg Madison before. DeBess with Wacker at TCU. Madison goes back to some of the great Texas A&M defenses when he worked for R.C. Slocum. So that's where that respect stems from. Sauter on 3rd and 10. Wanted to go deep, can't get it off. He sacked number 9 on the year for the sophomore defensive end, David Bowens.
You've seen it documented throughout college football. What they need to do now is that they're getting speed. David Bowens, a defensive end at 6'3", 228 pounds. Sauter never sees him coming from the left side. More and more teams are starting to recruit that. They recruit defensive backs to play linebackers, linebackers to play defensive end. Bowens, a converted linebacker, shows what it takes, and as you pointed out, his 9th sack of the year.
Steve Kemp with an outstanding punt. Buck Winters with a fair catch at the 14, 35 yards, but he pins them inside the 15, which was what he had in mind all along.
Had a nice left-handed swing, too, when he played with the Yankees and Tigers.
That was a different Steve Kemp.
Ah, all right. My mistake.
Yeah, this is Kemp with an H. If you'll turn around, you'll be able to see in the back of his jersey.
All right.
K-E-M-P-H. But an easy mistake to make.
Okay.
A Saturday night in the Metrodome. Minnesota and Michigan. And the Wolverines from their 14, 1st and 10. And the new tailback, Chris Howard, bursts into the clear in a foot race. Rodney Heath tries to catch him. He's got an angle. Can he get to him? Cutting back, Howard will take it 86 yards.
A great deal of the credit for that run not only goes to the offensive line, but Ty Streets, the wide receiver that went with him stride for stride, trying to shield Heath away. Take a look as he bursts through. Look at the offensive line. Rod Payne with an outstanding block. Gets him into the secondary. Now watch to the left of your screen. Ty Streets is fending Heath off. Howard looks over. Now he sees that he's got a little bit of room. He's going to let Streets block him. There he cuts back against the grain and goes in standing up. What a great effort. Take a look at the offensive line. The block by the right tackle. 2 men in that case. It was John Parchenko who did a great job shielding off Minnesota people. But Streets to the right of your screen, very persistent here, banging on Heath. And once again, a problem in the secondary for Minnesota. Their biggest guy is only 175 pounds. Once they get into the secondary, these people have to make some tackles. And thus far, they haven't been able to do it. Howard, what a run.
They've been looking for one like that all year long. They had only one standard running play of over 20 yards. Now, they'd had reverses, 4 long reverses. They had a 72-yard rise box scramble, but just a handoff to a running back. Only one had gone over 20 yards this year. And Howard does away with that problem. The injured Golden Gopher, by the way, is strong safety Tyrone Carter, who is back at the 23-yard line. Here's the collision that put him down.
Coming just from the back, he collides with his own man head on with number 43, Mari Moore. And that's going to be quite a loss. This is the young man that earlier in the season ran back 2 fumbles for touchdowns against Syracuse. Put himself right on the map with those big moments.
Well, as Carter tries to clear the cobwebs, let's again check in with Mike Adamley.
Well, Dave and Todd, a couple of weeks ago, Arizona State had to come from behind to beat UCLA, and now Cal in a similar position. They lead 7-3, but Keith Brown for the Bruins busts in from 4 yards out, and now they lead 10-7. Guys?
And a hand as Carter makes his way to his feet, and as he started to walk off, now he stopped again and is doubled over. So really struggling after that head-on collision with, as you said, his own teammate. You especially hate those. They are trying to converge on Howard when they meet head-to-head. Right
there it
here.
is right there. Actually, he takes that one on the point of his right shoulder. Unfortunately, there it wasn't head-to-head. You know, it's interesting, Dave, this year, some of our broadcasts, we have had the misfortune of seeing a couple of neck and upper back injuries. Fortunately, none serious, and good to see him walking out the field under his own power.
Hamilton adds the extra point. Well, the run by Howard ties the 5th longest play from scrimmage in Michigan history. That puts him in the record book along with Tom Harmon. Not bad company. And within 6 yards of the all-time longest run from scrimmage, 92-yarder by Butch Woolfolk back in 1979. Longest run this year by some 14 yards.
So what are Chris Howard's chances of having a 100-yard day?
Right now, they are outstanding. And his average per carry is going to be pretty darn good, too.
I'm telling you.
On November 1st, ESPN puts a whole new spin on sports news. ESPN is proud to announce the launch of ESPN News, television's most comprehensive news service. Up-to-the-minute reports on all the breaking news from the world of sports. Call your local cable operator or satellite provider for ESPN News, debuting November 1st. Well, the big play strikes again. 14-0 as Jay Feely drives another one deep. And Rodney Heath will settle for the touchback. Down to the sideline to Pam Ward.
All right, Dave, while we wait for word on Tyrone Carter, Zach Adamy appears very much to be done for the game. He was taped up, the offensive lineman who sprained his ankle and in a lot of pain, and he can barely move on the sideline, so it appears we've seen the last of him tonight. Dave?
All right, Pam, his backup is sophomore Noah Parker. Figuring to get a lot of playing time the rest of the evening.
Well, Noah Parker did pretty well in that last play.
And with the 86 yards total yardage now, just about doubles to 177 for Michigan. Gophers try to pick themselves up off the mat again. Sauter to the open Lee Hutton. And right at the first down marker, that may be good for 10 yards.
One of the things Minnesota is doing a good job of is they're spreading Michigan out, and as you pointed out, they're moving the ball up and down the field for the first time in the game. They go with the 4 wide receiver set, kind of a run and shoot package, trying to shake Michigan up, create some openings.
Hutton marked out of bounds at 27, so it'll be 2nd and 3. Promising start this year for Minnesota. They were 3-0. They had upset top 25 Syracuse here in the Dome. Hard times, a couple of narrow defeats since then. As Hamner dances into the secondary, first down and a lot more to the 35. Let's again check in on the Carter situation with Pam Ward.
Okay, Dave, and Carter is sitting on the bench right now, and their trainer, Minnesota trainer Doug Losey, says that Carter has a mild concussion and says that he might try to play again, but right now they're talking to him and just trying to get the cobwebs out, and he's going to rest for a while. Dave?
Probably the best news he could hope for.
I would think so, given the magnitude of that particular collision.
Minnesota coming close to Purdue, close at Northwestern. That was one of this incredible string of narrow victories that the Wildcats have pulled off. Jackson had that one, turned and ran into Bowens. All of a sudden, he didn't have it. So we've seen Bowens and his sacking ability. He can also drop back into coverage pretty well.
He can drop back into coverage, but Jackson did have him by 2 steps. If he holds onto the ball, he probably gets the first down.
Well, Minnesota this year, with the opening victory over Northeast Louisiana, an easy one. And then look at the string of close victories and defeats they've had. They beat Ball State by 3, Syracuse here by 2, lost by 3 to Purdue, by 2 to Northwestern. They had a shot at that one at the end, couldn't pull it off. And then by far the worst performance of the season last week in the 27-9 loss to Michigan State. Sauter sacked at the 30 by the blitzing Irons. Let's see what's happening with Nebraska with Mike Adamle.
Well, Dave and Todd, on this night, they are retiring Tommy Frazier's jersey, and Scott Frost doing his predecessor proud. This 8-yard touchdown pass to Sheldon Jackson in the end zone puts the Huskers up by 7. Guys?
Wasn't hard to bring Tommy Frazier in for that ceremony. He's part of their radio broadcast crew this year.
And in fairness to Scott Frost, that's going to be tough shoes to fill. I mean, everybody keeps waiting for him to be another Tommy Frazier. He isn't. In fairness to him, I mean, he's got to make his own way.
Just get the snap off in time, and they keep it on the ground and fool no one. On a 3rd and 15. Copenhagen reacting quickly to the carry by Byron Evans.
Well, 3rd and 15, evidently they didn't want to throw the ball downfield, anticipating the deep zone. But as you pointed out, fooling no one. Great speed on the part of the backers. In particular, in this case, as you pointed out, Copenhagen, who gets there first. A little excitement on the part of Michigan defense. You don't normally see them quite that animated.
Loss of 2, 4th and 17 will bring Kemp on. And they go after him. Flags are down. Kemp is down. And a very poor kick is finally down at about the 48-yard line. If the kick stands, it's just 23 yards. Flags were actually thrown at the line of scrimmage before Kemp got it off, or so it appeared. And it's not roughing. It's illegal procedure, Minnesota.
They'll certainly refuse that because of the great field position.
Lloyd Carr can take over near midfield. 23-yarder. Transmission problems from David Whitboat. Let's watch the center lift up early. That may have been what threw the flag.
No. I snapped for 4 years in the NFL. You can move your rear end. Sure you can. That's where you get your thrust. My guess is that they probably had 8 men on the line of scrimmage or not enough men on the line of scrimmage. Either way, Michigan's in terrific field position.
Right at the 50. 1st and 10, Michigan. Michigan figuring they could just overpower Minnesota between the tackles. Chris Howard fresh off his 86-yarder for about 3 or 4. Defensive line there getting the talking to. Haven't done a whole lot too poorly so far. Howard, their 2nd leading rusher, coming in with now 6 touchdowns on the season. 4 of them came in one game, the victory over UCLA. Given the gain of 3 for 2nd and 7. Williams in motion and takes it on the reverse. Right there to foil the reverse, though, is Jerome Davis, the defensive tackle. And the senior from Detroit with a sweet hit here back at the 46.
Have to question the call of Michigan in this situation simply because of the fact that they were running the ball so effectively on standard plays. As you pointed out, Davis actually almost accidentally got in the way, but he does make a terrific play now. 3rd and 14 for Michigan. And as I say, you certainly have to second guess them because of the success they'd had in the running game thus far.
Carried his blocker, Mark Campbell, all the way back into the backfield of Michigan. That's the end of the 1st quarter, 14-0. Perdome, Dave Barnett, Todd Christensen, and Pam Ward. It's 14-0 for number 10 Michigan. And they begin the 2nd quarter looking at a 3rd and 14 from their 46-yard line. There's a good sight. Tyrone Carter shaking off the mild concussion and is back in at strong safety. Reisbach. Ball deflected, intended for Williams. And the Gopher defense holds when they absolutely had to make a stand. They've been hit by 2 big plays, but they come up big around midfield after the poor punt.
Watch to the right of your screen. Jerome Davis will get cut, and as soon as he gets cut, he knows it's a screen pass. He jumps up and almost makes the interception. Inevitably, it's very predictable. The offensive line go for the cut and then move. Defensive line know that's a screen. Jerome Davis wishes he had that one back. He had a pick.
Paraskaris hangs this one for Rodney Heath. Fair caught at the 20.
Good defensive stand for Minnesota. Starting at midfield, they actually pushed them back, so good opportunity here for the Gophers to get something going, get back in this game.
ESPN2 has the best in college football next Saturday at 12:30 Eastern. Number 2, Ohio State and Demetrius Stanley take on this same Minnesota group. That'll be in Columbus. And then at 7 p.m. it's an SEC battle as defending West champion Arkansas travels to take on number 22 Auburn.
All right. West Barbecue in Auburn. Here we come.
Smell another free meal for you. Little room, if any, for Hamner. Actually, they'll stop him for a loss at the 19. The numbers in the first quarter inflated quite a bit by the 86-yard sprint by Howard. 173 total yards for Michigan as a result.
Oh, Minnesota's total yards 103. They've been doing a great job of moving it between the 20s, but after the missed field goal and of course the two big plays by Michigan, they've been having their problems.
Sauter in the shotgun with both Atwell and Felwell wide left. He looks that way, delivers for Tutu Atwell. He gets away from Marcus Ray's tackle attempt and is going to be close for a first down at the 30. Another update on the Huskers. Mike Adamle.
Well, the Kansas Jayhawks are playing without suspended running back June Henley. Maybe they could borrow one of Nebraska's many tailbacks like this guy, Amon Green. He goes in from 11 to make it 14-0. They've added another, and now it's Nebraska by 3 touchdowns.
Hey, Mike Adamle, I could be wrong, but couldn't you and I run behind that line? Holy cow, we just went in completely untouched. Got some studs up there up front in Nebraska.
3rd and 1. High formation and 2 tight ends. They run the option. And falling forward with what should be a first down is Hamner. They'll give him the 31, and they will move the chain.
This is one of the reasons why they say that Charles Woodson, though, might be the best athlete that Michigan has had in quite a long time. Open field tackle, one-on-one. How many times do you see the running back just run right through the one guy and get the first down? Instead, Woodson trips him up, and only the fact that Hamner was so close to the sticks is he able to get it. 6'1", 197-pound Woodson.
Woodson, last year's Big Ten Freshman of the Year, first team all-conference as a true freshman. Motion from Jimmy Wyrick. And the catch made by Felwell, having an active, productive first half so far. Near the 40, where he is upended by Hankins.
He's the kind of wide receiver that people are looking for now. 6'2", 200 pounds, excellent vertical leap. 4.6 speed in the 40, somebody that can out jump the smaller defensive backs that now have to play the position because of the quickness factor. This is somebody that, to use the quote that we hear so often from head coaches, that's a young man that will play on Sundays.
Hopefully not too soon. They want him for another year here, just a junior. Draw play. Hamner with some room and another first. Out across the 45. And again, this pattern repeats itself. Minnesota, to begin a drive, moves the ball pretty well.
Offensive line, Jared Irons sitting there. You saw the left hand go in the back of his buttocks. Maybe a little bit of a hold. Irons able to come off and make the tackle, but Hamner getting the first down near midfield, and you're right. This is a pattern, though, that has to culminate with some points here for Minnesota.
Bad trend from their opening drive when it ended with a missed field goal. Had a chance for the early upper hand after a long pass to Felwell. Didn't happen. They're still looking for their first points. This is Tutu Atwell. And about 9 yards into Wolverine territory, where he's hit by Dadrian Taylor and Woody Hankins.
You know what I like about this young man is his courage. He reminds me a little bit of Ernest Givens. You remember the wide receiver for the Houston Oilers. 5'9", about 170 pounds. Look at that. Just lowers the shoulder. He knows he's going to get whacked, but he sticks his shoulder in there anyway. A lot of times you see the Smurf type receivers that'll sprint for the out of bounds or slide in so they don't get hurt. Not so Atwell. He shows that he's willing to take it. Pretty good numbers there too.
6th leading pass catcher in Minnesota history. He also just a junior. Hamner. And they'll move the chains again. Thomas reaches the 42 of Michigan.
Key for Minnesota this drive has been their ability to get some yards on first down. Now that's about 3 straight times they've come up 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 2, and that has to drive a defense crazy because you don't know what to do. Do you blitz? Do you stay back? Do you take some chances? You're not sure. And Minnesota, as a result of that in this particular drive, able to keep the Wolverine defense off balance.
And for the moment at least, frustrating Greg Madison. Over on the side. So 1st and 10 from the 42. 4 wides. Hamner the lone setback. Play fake. Sauter just got it off in time. Greg Nelson at the 5 for 1st and goal. Good call. Perfectly timed pass. Goes for 36.
To the right of your screen, you're going to see Nelson in the trail coverage as a linebacker. They went with the 4 wide receivers. Michigan was a little unsure. They didn't get a corner out quick enough on top of Nelson. You can see right there, look in trail coverage. Is number 43 Copenhaver. He's an outside linebacker. He is no match man for a wide receiver. Minnesota does a great job picking up the mismatch. It gives Sauter credit. He had some people right in his face. He delivered the ball right on the money to Nelson.
They mark him at the 4 where it's 1st and goal. Evans at fullback in front of Hamner in the I. And it's Evans. Touchdown, Minnesota.
Great call. Great call. Take a look at the bodies, the misdirection. Everybody is going left, cutting across the grain. Basically, there's only one tackle that he has to beat. Evans able to find the gap and walk into the end zone. Great call by Bob DeBest.
Ryan Rindle's on the hole for Bailey, who is 9 for 11 on the year.
Good-looking drive by the Minnesota Gophers, capped off by the misdirection of Evans, who's able to carry it in. Now the Gophers only down a touchdown.
All season for the Golden Gophers, and Evans cashes it in to cut the lead in half. A 9-play, 80-yard drive. With the big play, the connection to Greg Nelson to set up the 1st and goal.
And I think the other reason for optimism on the Minnesota side is that, frankly, Michigan has not really shown the ability to do that just yet. Of course, they haven't had to because of the 2 big plays. But if Minnesota's defense can get going here as they did the last series when they, had it at midfield, 3 and out, be right back in this.
Tyrone Butterfield from the 5. And cut down at about the 24-yard line. 19-yard return for the sophomore, one of many on both teams tonight, hailing from Miami. At the moment, Todd, Minnesota with 183 total yards, 10 more than Michigan. And a huge advantage in time of possession, but as you mentioned, when you score big, 86-yard run, that's not much time needed. Mostly the running game so far for Michigan. Dreisbach has only thrown it twice. Both were complete. And this time, not much room because Park Williams gets in the way of Clarence Williams.
As you pointed out, only thrown 2 times, and both for very big yardage. Good opportunity right here for Michigan to go with play action pass, see if they can get the momentum back on their side.
Boyd Carr has seen Sauter have a tremendous first half. 10 of 13, 166 yards, and 1 was dropped. In fact, 2 were dropped by Michigan defenders. But Carr sticking with the power game, figuring they've got the talent to make that work. And Williams staggers forward with the second effort. He's going to have the first down and a gain of 10.
Well, one of the reasons, as you pointed out, because of the physical superiority of the front 4 of Michigan, they don't necessarily need the balance. They just need the white shirts to push the others back. Williams shows some terrific balance there. Frustrated as those runners always are. They pound the ground, and oh my gosh, if I could have stayed on my feet, I could have gone the distance. Great job thus far of the offensive line of Michigan, very much asserting itself.
Michigan, one of those programs traditionally where you see the more they throw, the more trouble they're in, generally speaking. Markers went down from the far sideline just as Michigan arrived at the line of scrimmage. And a very upset Carr.
Prior to snap, ball start, offense, 5-yard penalty, down remains 1st.
I felt he's more upset with the guilty party on his own team or the officials for calling that. Maybe more so the officials. Mark him back for 1st and 15. Streets and Butterfield both come wide to the left side. But they keep it on the ground with Clarence Williams, and he can't bust through Park Williams, who plugs the gap again. Another update from Mike Adamle.
All right, Dave and Todd, it's not all gloom and doom for the Kansas Jayhawks in Lincoln, Nebraska. They can't run the ball very effectively, so they go to the air. Matt Johnner airs it out for Isaac Bird, 77 yards on the play. Kansas has pulled to within 2 touchdowns early in the 2nd quarter.
Great.
Not many big plays against that defense of Nebraska.
Well, but then again, a lot of people aren't aware of the fact that one of the main men in the offensive cognoscenti for Kansas, Mike Adamle's brother Vic, helping to call those plays, get them downfield.
Dreisbach with just his 3rd pass of the day, and it's complete to Jeremy Tooman, the 2nd leading receiver at tight end.
18 catches, 233 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Somebody they do want to try and get the ball to because he can move the sticks.
Jeremy Tooman, 3 touchdown catches, all game winners against Boston College, Colorado, and most recently, Indiana.
Well, tight ends are notoriously clutch.
Is into it on a 3rd and 7. They bring the house, got it off, Tooman wide open, and in a foot race, run down at the 26-yard line by Craig Scruggs. And a great call this time on the side of Fred Jackson. The Michigan offensive coordinator goes for 33 yards.
When you're going to come with the house, you know it's man-for-man coverage. Tooman on the crossing route just plain gets lost in the shuffle. There's nobody that goes with him, wide open. You mentioned a foot race. He's not going to win this one, but he certainly punishes the young man, in this case Scruggs, on the sidelines. Freddie Jackson looking like a genius thus far. The passing game in particular has been very successful as Dreisbach continues to throw the ball extremely well.
Yeah, following a less is more philosophy. 4 out of 5 for 101 yards. Williams with some room coming left, and he will dance into the end zone.
The reason he got into the end zone is that Tyrone Butterfield did an outstanding job blocking at the point of attack. Rodney Heath made a bad decision to cut to the inside. Boy, this is great blocking downfield. Watch to the left of your screen. Heath number 7, you can see just as he comes in right there. Look at Butterfield, has him completely tied up. He's the man that needs to come up and run support. He does not. As a result, Williams goes into the end zone untouched.
And the Hamilton extra point. 26-yarder for Williams. His 2nd scoring run of the year has the Wolverines back in command by 14.
Williams has to be very happy with himself as well as the offensive line and what they have done. But the key play of this drive, of course, the poise of Scott Dreisbach sitting back in the pocket, blitz coming, shows his composure, gets it to his tight end Tooman on the crossing route, is able to get upfield, and of course that set up the big run by Williams. Tim Rose, the defensive coordinator, needless to say, not a very happy man. Had good opportunities for his team to make some plays, but they did not. Poor tackling in particular.
Well, Jay Feely, same old story. Another touchback. Rashawn early on the knee. That key play to Tooman coming on a 3rd and 7, just when it appeared maybe Minnesota had enough emotion into it to turn it back over to their offense and give them a chance to tie it up. Instead, they again find themselves in a 14-point hole.
Well, but once again, it's important for the young people on the Minnesota offense to be aware that, look, we can't control that. That's not what we're about. We need to do what we did last time, which was go 9 plays and 80 yards and score again. And certainly they have the capacity of doing that unless Michigan has made some defensive adjustments. Sauter has been outstanding.
Back to the air. And he means business. Deep, too deep, and almost an interception for Woodson. There's that matchup again. Future pro against future pro in all likelihood as Woodson goes stride for stride with Thelwell, and they both may be shaken up.
Woodson not very happy with himself because he knows that's one that he should have caught. As you pointed out, stride for stride. Felwell didn't make any kind of move at all, just ran right with him. And Woodson, the faster man, makes the adjustment. Needs to lay out a little bit here. Can't quite come up with it. And I guess it shows how good an athlete he is that he lays out, doesn't come up with it, and stands up frustrated. Kind of like Tiger Woods when he misses the 30-foot putt and goes, "Oh my gosh!" You know,
I've got to have that.
He expects that. Yeah, that's greatness.
And again, when Sauter misses, he at least hits somebody in the hands. 4 incompletions, 3 of which have hit defenders in the hands. Evans, fresh off his touchdown, and this time hit for a loss of a yard or 2.
Carr stuffing the middle. I think they've gone to the well once too often with that draw play.
Yeah, it was interesting, as you talked about William Carr's self-criticism. He feels like he's in a slump, despite the fact he leads the defensive line in tackles and in tackles for loss, has a couple of sacks, and is double teamed on virtually every play.
Well, again, he's somebody that'll put never mind.
I know where you're going with that.
Okay.
He's got a good future.
Yes, he does.
Perhaps beyond the college level.
Indeed.
Shotgun for Sauter, got it off ahead of the blitz. Too tall for Nelson. ABC has all your college football action next Saturday at noon. Nebraska travels to Norman for the traditional battle with Oklahoma, and in-state rivals Michigan and Michigan State will battle for the Paul Bunyan Trophy in Ann Arbor. So check your local listings for the game in your area.
Oklahoma's 2-game winning streak was ended, but what are the chances of them? What are the chances of them knocking off Nebraska?
Not good. No. I would expect the Huskers to be somewhere around 35-point favorites in that one, roughly. Well, Winters decides why not return it, and Michigan will start in Minnesota territory. After a 38-yard boot, comes back 12 yards. Let's go down to Pam Ward.
All right, Dave, in that last touchdown, Tim Rose, you talked about their defensive coordinator. Most of his ire initially was directed towards his defensive backs. Jim Wacker, the head coach, calls them his no body fat defensive backs because they're so small. 3 guys weigh 170 pounds. Rodney Heath, Craig Scruggs, Rashawn Early. Tyrone Carter is the beefy one at 172. He's the tough kid who was out, got the mild concussion, and then was able to come back in on the very next series. And Jim Wacker says he's the best tackler on the team. Coverage, not height, Wacker says is important, and so far for this defense. Dave?
Williams getting loose around right end. And knocked out of bounds at the 32 for 14 yards and a first down. That's a tough way to do business in the Big Ten, Todd, to be constantly outweighed 20, 30 pounds at least. Well,
and in that particular play certainly personified the report of Pam Ward. They get into the secondary, and the defensive backs are always going backward. On most teams, you've got a strong safety or a free safety that's 200-pound plus, a run support kind of guy. As he pointed out, you know, the big hitter is Carter, but he's 172 pounds. I mean, that's not somebody that's terribly intimidating, although he is a pretty good player. Michigan's certainly taking advantage of it.
Well, they say Carter is their best tackler because he uses great leverage to overcome his lack of size. Williams is hit by Heath as we get another update on those Cornhuskers from Mike Adamle.
Well, David, Todd, you talked about Oklahoma. If you're Oklahoma coach John Blake, hide the Nebraska-Kansas videotape. Here's another Nebraska score. Scott Frost running it in himself. His second touchdown of the night that he was responsible for. Huskers up by 21.
Let me adjust my prediction. Let's make it about a 42-point Nebraska favorite next week.
A young man in my neighborhood by the name of Casey, who's playing there at Nebraska, told me that Scott Frost cleaned 300 pounds 12 times. He's the quarterback, for goodness sakes. He's the quarterback.
Mercy.
Unbelievable.
Chris Howard on the carry. Will be close to the first down marker. Hamilton getting ready just in case the drive bogs down. Call it 3rd and 1. They give him just the 22.
Tim Rose has to fire up his group here. You see the frustration all over his face. He's doing what he can. He's trying to put people in position, but they just can't seem to tackle the bigger, faster running backs.
Motion from Tillman. And a give to Howard straight through the middle for the first at the 20-yard line. The 1994 and 95 Stanley Cup champions square off Wednesday at 7:30 here on ESPN2. Mark Messier leads the Rangers into New Jersey to take on Martin Brodeur and the Devils as the Devils look to make a return to the playoffs after missing out last year. NHL hockey only on the Deuce. So Michigan first and 10 to go for 20. Nearing the 200-yard rushing mark on the day. Williams, as Scruggs hangs on for dear life. That may be the most impressive tackle of the evening because that probably saves 6 more.
Certainly did. You're exactly right. If Scruggs doesn't make this tackle, it's another touchdown. Williams cuts to the outside. He's got a free look. And in fairness to these young people, we talk about the fact they are 5'9", 170. Well, heck, if you keep having to take on the 200 and 220 pounders without there at least being some help in the front seven, you know, you're asking an awful lot of your secondary.
Five yards would have been much worse for Williams. 2nd and 5. Williams right behind his center Rod Payne. With the unpilot, he will lack about a yard. 3rd and 1. In all likelihood coming.
You mentioned Rod Payne at the outset being ambidextrous, able to snap with both hands. I mean, that really is quite a skill. I mean, it just isn't that easy, and you have to realize how significant it is to get the ball up to the quarterback, both in regular snaps and in shotgun. You saw right there the cast on that thumb. No way he can do it with the right hand, but he shifts to the left. Very impressive. And the coaches, he is one of the captains. The coaches unanimously praise this young man and the skills that he has as an offensive lineman.
Another big play, 3rd and 1. And it's Chris Howard, and with the spin move, he will have 1st and goal, Wolverines. I think on the initial contact, he might have been stopped shy of the 1st down marker, but he turned his back. Kept the legs driving forward, though, the important thing, and it is 1st and goal.
Interesting situation here with regards to Michigan, with the clock soon to start running here at 2:05 and counting inside the 10-yard line. Not that you can predict these things, but you'd want to take 3 plays here to bleed all of the clock away, to not give Minnesota an opportunity, as opposed to scoring on the first play and giving Souder and his mates another opportunity.
Dreisbach has Streets left, Russell Shaw right, and Howard with the give. Howard cutting back in and has his 2nd touchdown. And with that, goes over the 100-yard mark for the first half. 6 carries, 108 to score.
Boy, good call. And once again, look at the blocking. Russell Shaw downfield. It's very impressive to see wide receivers block as well as they do here at Michigan. They know that they're going to run the ball, and one of the reasons why they're going to be afforded playing time is their ability to block. And boy, that was a great call by you, Dave, saying that Howard is going to go over 100 yards. Great job.
It just takes a feel. Years and years of experience. Hamilton hooks it. It's wide left, and his 2nd missed PAT of the year. So keep it at 27-7 for number 10 Michigan. 1:41 to go in the first half. Chris Howard carries the ball less than half as often as the man he backs up, Clarence Williams, but he knows the way to the end zone. 7 touchdowns on the year, 2 of them tonight. This one from 9 yards out to cap an 8-play drive, all rushes for Michigan.
And Dave, those people that were beefing about the running game of Michigan certainly can't tonight. 198 yards in the first half alone.
Bill Feely just doesn't allow returns. Tyrone Carter 8 yards deep this time. Let's see what's coming up at the half as we again check in with Mike Annable.
All right, thank you, Dave and Todd. And coming up at halftime from our ESPN2 college football studio, scores and highlights from this day in college football. The Cardiac Cats strike again in Evanston. Ohio State scores early and often against Iowa and then hangs on. And an SEC Classic, Alabama and Tennessee. All that up coming up at halftime. Guys?
All right, Mike. 2 timeouts for Minnesota. 80 yards away, minute 41. And down 20. Having been dominated by the Michigan ground game, and in particular, Chris Howard.
His average per carry's dropped.
Really suffering then. All 6 possessions for the Gophers have begun at their own 20, and Hamner driven back for a loss at the 18.
Trying to get a little misdirection and fool the Michigan defense, obviously in a passing mode, hoping to catch them with their ears pinned back in misdirection, but give Michigan defense credit. They read their keys and dropped Hamner for a loss.
Jim Wacker hoping to end a 10-game Big Ten losing streak coming into this one. Dates back to their 95 conference opener, a 1-point win, 39-38 over Purdue. And they had some hopes when they cut the lead in half to 14-7, but the Wolverines have responded with an overpowering ground assault. Sauter in traffic to find Thelwell at the 35-yard line. 4 white jerseys surrounding Ryan Thelwell.
That's a big-time throw. That's one of the things that the people of Minnesota had told us regarding Corey Sauter. He does have a big-time arm, and that deep in personifies that. Thelwell having an outstanding first half.
And that's what's on Jim Wacker's mind. And it would appear well on their way to an 11-game conference losing streak. Sauter, dangerous throw, almost a pick for Woodson, but it's Thelwell for another first near midfield. Guy's just a playmaker. Timeout with 28 seconds called by Minnesota. They have 1 left. One more timeout, 28 seconds to go, 51 yards, or at least deep enough to get an Adam Bailey field goal. Points before halftime essential for the mindset of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So far, a couple of nice connections to Thelwell. Michigan showing blitz. Here they come over the middle to Atwell, and Tutu with some moves to the 43, but the clock will continue to roll. And Sauter motioning to get everybody up on the line so he can spike it and save the timeout. As the clock goes down to 10 seconds, he gets it stopped.
This is reminiscent of the Northwestern game. Those of you that happen to have watched that, down 23-0, Sauter does a tremendous job of getting the team back into the game and then wastes 18 seconds with an audible at midfield. Minnesota needs to do a better job of managing the clock.
Yeah, if only he had spiked it in that occasion. Right. With Northwestern that day taking their trademark hairbreadth victory. Now 5-0 in the conference and 7-1 overall. They hang on and score late to beat Illinois today. Ohio State a winner over Iowa. Michigan State a blowout winner. Maybe in surprisingly easy fashion over Wisconsin. Sauter for Hamner, a lot of room, and he will wisely get out of bounds. Rather than take 8 or 10 more yards, stops the clock at 4 seconds. Now, if they go for the field goal now, that is a 56-yard effort. But with only 4 seconds to go, you can't gamble getting one more snap. So on will come Adam Bailey, whose longest is 48 yards. Bailey, a sophomore from Burnsville, Minnesota, out of the hold of Ryan Rindles from 56. Good snap and hold this time. And it is just short. Had it pretty well on line. But just under the crossbar as the first half comes to a close, and number 10 Michigan dominating 27-7 as we send you to the studio and Mike Adams.
All right, thank you, David. And coming up, a rundown of this day in college football, including Arizona State and Ohio State. They stay unbeaten and on track to meet in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. And a hard-hitting affair in Knoxville, Tennessee between the Tide and the Volunteers. We'll have it all next. Metrodome, where it's 27-7 for number 10 Michigan over
previously upset-minded Minnesota. Now, obviously, they've had some time to lick their wounds, get some strategy plan for the second half. But, Todd, I go back to what Tim Rose, the defensive coordinator, said yesterday. For them to win this game, they've got to play out of their minds, and they've got to have help from Michigan, and so far neither one has happened.
No, it hasn't. Michigan has not turned the ball over. In fact, just the opposite, nearly 200 yards rushing, and it has been the Chris Howard show here in the first half. Takes the ball off tackle, gets some great blocks from his friends, particularly Ty Streets, who's able to shield off the last defender, enabling him to go in for the 86-yard touchdown. And, of course, later on, only 6 carries for Howard, but 108 yards. Once again, gets a nice block from his wide receiver, Sean, goes in for the second touchdown of the half. The young man's having an outstanding first half. Take a look at the numbers. The total yards, nearly 300. Of course, the big one that stands out right there, the 198 yards rushing.
Michigan in this game last year totaled 623 yards. They're almost on that pace tonight. Minnesota, due to a superb first half from Corey Sauter, 207 passing yards, but only 16 on the ground. And they had emphasized yesterday the need to get at least some semblance of a running game going. To date, that has not happened either.
The interesting thing with regards to Sauter is that despite the fact that they're getting beat, 14 for 20, 207 yards passing, you see right there in the first half for Sauter. So it's not as if they've been shutting him down. If he can get a hot hand, you know, he can certainly make it respectable for the Gophers.
Jay Feely, who's been booming them through the end zone all night, does so again. Another fair catch by Carter. And all 7 possessions now for the Gophers have started at their 20. That's
Big
not
weapon.
a bad weapon right there.
Absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. When you always have to go 80 yards to score, a guy like that's pretty valuable.
Let's check in on the sideline with Pam.
And Dave, Lloyd Carr, talking about the first half, was upset. He said they hurt themselves with penalties. Defensively, he says, we're giving up too many big plays to Minnesota. He thinks that's the only way that Minnesota can get back in the game. He said they have to play much smarter, and look for them to put some more pressure on Sauter also.
Man, oh man, he was upset.
Those are some high standards.
I'm telling you.
Has a first down out across the 30. Hamner on a little circle pattern, good for right at 10 yards and the first.
Remember, early in the first half, they were able to do that, get Hamner the ball in the center of the field, let him run around a little bit. Don't forget, you know, they're down by 20 points, but there's a lot of time left. They don't necessarily have to throw bombs in the deep ends and take off chunks of yardage. Just need to establish some drives.
Long count. Mark Pangan went in motion. Give on a bit of a delay. Hamner about 5 yards worth of room through the middle. That's again go down to Pan.
All right, Dave, and Jim Wacker, when he came on, was trying to fire up his team. And despite what Lloyd Carr says, Jim Wacker very impressed with this Michigan defense. He says a sign of how good it is that it's played powers such as Colorado, UCLA, Boston College, giving up only 6 touchdowns, make it 7 touchdowns in 7 games, counting tonight's game against Minnesota. And next week, another tough test for Michigan as they take on Michigan State. Dave?
And they still have not allowed a first quarter point all year defensively. And the bad news for Minnesota, they've only allowed 1 fourth quarter touchdown all year. Hamner tries the right end and runs right into the defensive end on that side. Glenn Steele, the junior from Ligonier, Indiana. Give him the 39 and make it 3rd and a long one.
Minnesota Golden Gophers, that bodes well for them here. Nearly 2-1 in scoring over their opponents in the second half. If they can keep that up, they might just get back in this thing.
2 tight ends. Evans ahead of Hamner in the eye. That's the play they scored on. Evans just strong enough to carry the defender Bowens on his back, continue forward, and crack the first down marker.
Great effort by Evans, and Bowens acknowledges it, pats him on the head and said, okay, partner, you got me that time. Had him on his back, and Bowens really did have him stop short of the first down, but sheer persistence on the part of number 36 gets a first down for the Gophers.
Lloyd Carr with most of his Big Ten schedule ahead of him. 2-1 record coming in. And a lot of clubs in the conference have played as many as 5 conference games now. He's got Michigan State back at home in Ann Arbor next week. David Woodvote, the referee, apparently a cut to the chin, and the Minnesota training staff over to tend to it. So a good reason for an official timeout with 13:04 to play in the 3rd quarter.
ESPN2's presentation of college football is brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
Lovely night in Minneapolis, except for Golden Gopher fans. They trail 27-7. You occasionally see an official get caught up in the action in the middle of the field. Sometimes they'll get run over. I can't recall ever seeing a guy cut to the chin the way referee David Woodvote has been on that last play. And so quick work by the Gopher training staff to patch him up. And momentarily, we hope he will be sent back into duty. Let's look at the AP top 10 rankings coming into this weekend's action. Michigan there at number 10. Florida, Ohio State with a 12-point victory over Iowa, hoping to hang on to number 2. Florida State survives Virginia. Easy win for Arizona State. Nebraska winning big. And then the second 10 with Northwestern hoping to move up after their victory earlier over Illinois. West Virginia tied up at the half scoreless with Miami.
How about Wyoming Cowboys? Still undefeated, huh? How about the Pride of Laramie?
Hey, whether you're a player or an official, you work with pain. In this case, you officiate in pain.
Well, the Minnesota training staff playing the role of Angelo Dundee Cutman, taking care of him.
So back to work. 1st and 10 from the Gopher 41. And again, Hamner, a favorite target, circles over the middle, heads for the side, and picks up about 6 or 7 before he's run down by Irons. This is a man who had caught 5 passes all season coming into this game. He now has doubled that total. His 5th catch tonight for 40 yards.
What they're trying to do is to get him the ball and get him some running room. He will come across, and as he cuts across the field, take a look at Charles Woodson. Comes up as man, alters his route, knocks him down. He had the angle there on Jared Irons. It could have been a much bigger play than that. As you pointed out, Hamner showing his ability to make catches as well as just run from the tailback spot.
Back to the usual set, the 3 wides, but a delay handoff for Hamner, who will be close, should have the first as he cracks Michigan's 47-yard line and is again brought down by Irons. 1st and 10, Minnesota.
Minnesota's been very effective with that delayed draw, both inside and outside.
Of course, Jim Wacker's coaching history is much more attuned to a running attack than a passing attack. Most of his success came with the veer offense, winning 2 Division II national titles at Southwest Texas, 2 NAIA titles at Texas Lutheran, and then good success at TCU, where he was named National Coach of the Year in 1984 with a great veer attack. Sauter deep, broken up. Thelwell was open, but over to get a hand on it was the free safety Dadrian Taylor. A little bit underthrown because Thelwell was behind the coverage.
Play action fake trying to get Thelwell to the post. Taylor shows great leaping ability. You're right. He misjudged that a little bit, but fortunately for him had the vertical leap to come up and bat it down. Otherwise, Thelwell has the post pattern in for 6. Good play by Taylor.
Sophomore out of Longview, Texas. One of 11 Wolverines from Texas. There are 17 Golden Gophers from Texas. In each case, the 2nd favorite recruiting ground next to the home state. Sauter for Nelson, and spilled hard, but manages to hang on at about the 42. Woodson delivering the blow.
Let me tell you how hard that is when you're running. This isn't his man. Watch as he cuts out. It's a zone. He breaks out. He doesn't see Woodson coming. I got to tell you, this is no fun as a receiver. And notice what Woodson did. He tried to put his helmet on the ball. He wasn't necessarily interested in knocking him out. He wanted to get the turnover. Give credit to the wide receiver in that case, though, able to hold on to the ball to set up a 3rd down.
Yeah, yet to see Woodson offensively.
Haven't exactly needed him.
Yeah, maybe save him for later on in the year. Catch by Hutton. And I don't know where they're going to mark him, but where the catch was originally made, he would have had a first down. Now markers fly on what I think is going to be a face mask. Ball also went loose and was picked up by Bowens, but after it had been blown dead.
Lee Hutton, the sophomore, doesn't get that many opportunities, and so when he does, he wants to make the most of it, but he has to be cognizant of the yardsticks. 3rd and 5 in that case.
We have a 5-yard incidental face mask on the defense. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
Take a look right there, reaching right out. Yeah, that's pretty obvious right there. Good call by the official. Number 23 ran right in front of him too. Woodrow Hankins grabs the face mask. I'm not sure that was just of the 5-yard variety. Nonetheless, first down for Minnesota.
Well, at this point, one of the better drives of the evening for the Gophers, as Greg Madison showing a face of concern. They have reached his 32, starting at their own 20. And Javon Jackson tripped up behind the line by the nose tackle William Carr. Still managed to keep his balance and perhaps good positive yardage.
That's really a big play by Carr because Michigan caught themselves in an outside blitz and the middle was open a little bit, but Carr, to his credit, came through and trips up Jackson. The young man who's been complaining about not getting attention or numbers, he's getting both this evening.
No room for complaint tonight. Senior out of Dallas, 6 feet 287. And call it no game. That one should have been picked off, and not only losing the ball, but also his shoe was Marcus Ray, the strong safety, intended over the middle for Atwell, and Ray would have set sail for 6 had he held on.
Ray does a great job of reading Souter's eyes. He knows that he doesn't have much time because of the blitz. You can see he almost had the ball. He lost the ball off of his hip, and then he also loses his shoe. No excuse here. He knows he wishes he had that one back.
So 3rd and 10. Will another drive bog down for Minnesota? They've been good picking up 3rd down so far. Got to get to the 22. Good protection for Sauter. Floats one into coverage again, forcing it for Atwell.
Difficult situation there. He had Thelwell open out in the flat. You know, because of the fact that you're down 20 points, I would have thought this was a 4-down situation, and so you could have gotten away with, say, something off tackle, maybe get a 5-6 yard gain instead trying to get it all in one fell swoop. Asking an awful lot. Look at all the white shirts there. And it's also asking an awful lot of the quarterback to try to deliver the ball right on the money to a 5'9" receiver amongst all of that maize and blue.
Well, they asked a lot of Bailey just before the half when he missed a 56-yarder. This one will be a 49-yard effort. His longest is 48. Wow. And this one has plenty of leg and is good. So Adam Bailey, former walk-on, drills a 49-yarder to make it 27-10 Michigan.
One of the things that Adam Bailey was able to do is watch here and watch the extra step that he takes. He takes 3 steps instead of the normal 2. 1, 2, 3. That gives him a little bit more momentum and obviously a little more distance on the kick. I remember that George Bland, who was with the Oakland Raiders when he was the MVP of the league in 1970, when he was making all those 48, 50, and 52-yard field goals, he mentioned that he anticipated the snap, took that extra half step, and that gave him extra distance. Bailey doing the same thing.
From the 2, Tyrone Butterfield. It's 1 tackle, but reaches the 20, and that's where the return ends. Another update on those rampaging Nebraska Cornhuskers. Mike Anderson.
Dave and Todd, indeed they are, and Scott Frost peaking at just the right time as the Huskers make their run for the Big 12 championship. His 2nd touchdown run of the night to go with 2 touchdown passes. This game ceased being competitive about 3 touchdowns ago.
Well, I have a feeling they will finish it out, and then Nebraska can turn its sights toward Oklahoma.
What are the chances, do you think, that Nebraska might still play for the national championship?
Good chance, I think. Real good chance. Howard, who has been the star of the night in the running game for Michigan. Well, we'll return to the Metrodome for Monday Night Football as Dave Craig leads the Bears against Warren Moon and the Vikings, a classic black and blue division showdown. It will be Monday at 9 Eastern, only on ABC.
Warren Moon is one of my heroes, Dave, not just because he's a terrific quarterback and he's thrown for over 50,000 yards, et cetera, et cetera. It's because next month he turns 40. I'm 40. He's my hero.
He's 40 going on 30, just like you, big fella.
He is amazing.
Howard converging on him. Heath and Early reaches the secondary, good for about 8 yards or so. You know what really adds to your aura of youth is the continuing saga of your hair loss. And we documented a couple of weeks ago how you had gone from a real Samson look not long ago, you know, early middle part of your career, to the regular boy, you know, about a 550 cut down at the local shop.
That's it.
To your basic training look, which you have adopted this week.
Hey, things never stay the same.
Howard, great job keeping his balance.
Wow.
He may get the first down. And there it is. That's a tough way to lose weight, though.
It's a tough way to lose. I don't know. You know what? Remember when I was a kid, I used to like to watch the Steve Canyon Mike Nomad comic strip. You remember that? Mike Nomad was the guy with the great...
I'm not nearly old enough to
all
remember.
right, forget it. I wanted to look like Mike Nomad. I thought that was kind of cool. There's some symmetry to it, don't you think?
Well, I'll give you the Sergeant Carter look. That's something more I can relate to.
All right. Oh, you know what? You're just jealous. You don't have the neck to wear it. Did you notice, though, I stopped short of calling you a pencil neck geek, okay?
Thanks, I think.
Right.
Howard did get the first after the play fake to Williams. Dreisbach in trouble, and they lower the boom at the 25. Ogun Akbar, the nose guard, and Jerome Davis, the defensive tackle.
Defensive lineman's dream in the case of Akbar. Look at the momentum he's going to have. He's going to have a running start here because of the misdirection. Come on, come on. Right here. Look at him in pursuit. Please let me get this hit. Pow! There it is. So many times defensive linemen are always frustrated because they can never get to the quarterback. In that case, he had about a 20-yard head start. I can tell you right now that feels really good if you're a D lineman.
Another Texan, one of the 6 from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. 8 of them are from Houston. Jim Wacker keeping the recruiting pipeline open after coming up 5 years ago from TCU. Loss of 5. Dreisbach finds Howard wide open. And room up the side to the 37, where he's knocked out by Davis, who hustles over.
Offensive line just absolutely obliterated a gopher here. You can see right there. There's Rod Payne. Take a look to the left of your screen as he cuts up field. He pumps to the right, now comes back to the left. Watch as he runs up field. Take a look at a golden gopher if you can. Right here, look at that, out of bounds, completely knocked out of bounds. The line of Michigan continues to be assertive. Payne, Denson, Gines, Parchenko now for the injured Adami.
That was Parchenko, who was scoped, had his knee scoped a week ago.
Wow.
3rd and 4. Russell Shaw makes the catch for the first down. First grab tonight for Russell Shaw, junior from Los Angeles, brought down by Early, but he has another first.
Give some credit to Dreisbach. He has not thrown the ball much, but when he has made it count. And this is very difficult for a quarterback because you're always talking about getting in some rhythm. If you're going to run 75–80% of the time, that's very difficult on a quarterback. You can't expect him to just all of a sudden rise up and make the throws, but Dreisbach certainly has. Look at those numbers, and a very impressive statistic there is the average per attempt.
Yeah, that's like a Bo Schembechler game plan. Throwing less, enjoying it more. Ready to go over the middle and broken up by Rufus Smith. UCLA Cal still going on out west. Here's Mike Adamle.
Well, guys, out in Berkeley, California's West Coast offense has given way to UCLA power football. Skip Hicks with the 8-yard touchdown run. The Bruins lead by 10 in the third quarter. Bo Schembechler would have loved it.
Yeah, right up his alley.
Oh, that's great. California obviously not as resilient, struggling after the first loss of the season last week to Washington State.
Motion from Mark Campbell. Back to the ground. And a marker down. Clarence Williams with whistles blowing before they can complete the play. So evidently something prior to the snap, as David Whitboat, newly patched up, will tell us.
Prior to the snap, we had a false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Down remains second.
That is the fine tight end from Minnesota, Paul Cradaville, who is headed toward the locker room. And we'll have Pam Ward look into it and report back. That would be a big loss. One of their top weapons, although they haven't thrown to him tonight.
Well, over the last 3 games, he did catch 10 balls. And Bob DeBess had been commenting on the fact that they've been able to utilize him in the middle of the field.
Second down and 15. And the swing pass caught by Williams, cut down in textbook open field fashion by Rodney Heath. That's how you survive out there at 170 pounds.
Got to take him low, and that's exactly what he does. This is planned from the start. Drives back, looks down, but he's going to get Williams the ball out in the flat. Turns up field, sees him coming, nothing he can do about it. Wow, terrific tackle. Now, during this drive, Minnesota has done a very good job of containing Michigan on first and second down. It's the third down conversions that have been driving him crazy. Here, third and a very long 15 or 16. They need to stop Michigan here. 6 of 8 on third down conversions for Michigan.
Dreisbach feels the heat, gets it off somehow to Howard. But Howard is run out of bounds at the 44-yard line. How Dreisbach got it off is the mystery.
And the thing is, he's very fortunate. That actually went backward. Tim Rose very excited. Quite frankly, I was surprised he went with a blitz, but he does. Here comes 6 people. Dreisbach looks down. Now he cuts out. Look at this, hanging on. Pitches with the left hand, able to get him the ball. Great effort. Great effort, but again, that was backward. If for whatever reason somebody might have got a piece of that could have been a big turnover, but give them credit for their resiliency and spontaneity.
They go after the punter, too, but Peristeris gets one off. And a very high effort. Fair caught by Heath at the 18-yard line, 38 yards. Gophers trying to stay fired up, down 17. The looks of Lloyd Carr, you'd think he's on the opposite end of the 27-10 count. Let's check in with Pam Ward.
All right, Dave, and Doug Losey, the trainer for Minnesota, tells me that Paul Cradaville, the tight end, he's been taking into the dressing room. He has something called tachycardia, which is just a racing heartbeat. He has a history of that, Losey says, and he just had an episode on the field, and they were unable to get the heart rate down here, so they've taken him into the locker room to try to get it back to normal. Dave?
All right, so the tight ends on the field now, Mark Tangen and Vincent Hippolyte, as Hamner gets the call and reaches the 21-yard line before he is cut down. Last meeting, all Michigan, 52-17 last year at Ann Arbor. Sauter with good numbers, but that's about the numbers he had at the half tonight, though, 206 yards. Brian Greasy at that point was the quarterback because Dreisbach had been knocked out for the entire year because of the torn thumb ligaments, and he had a huge day.
That was, I'm pretty sure that was the best game that he had last year. Terrific numbers. 4
touchdown passes. Got him to the Alamo Bowl, where they lost a 22-20 decision to Texas A&M. Not much action at all for Brian this year. Injured Gopher is Luke Kirkenhoff, and while they check on him, we'll take time out.
Kirkenhoff, and you can actually hear him cry out. One of the difficulties of being an offensive lineman. So many times you're hustling upfield and you don't know what's happening behind you. In that case, the sweep falls on the back of his leg, and hopefully we can get a report for you soon, and hopefully it's not too serious.
Hamner, his teammate, and Jared Irons, the middle linebacker, both running him down from behind. And so Herkenhoff, the junior left tackle from Albany, Minnesota, out at least for the time being. Sauter from the shotgun on 2nd and 6. And looks for Atwell. Perfectly timed pattern and a nice running catch by Tutu Atwell. Good for 22 yards. Let's get an update from Mike Adamle.
Well, Dave and Todd, one of 8 undefeated Division 1A teams. West Virginia making its case tonight in Morgantown against Miami. Ryan Clement picked off by Mike Logan. He takes it down to the 4. Mountaineers score 2 plays later. They have a 7-3 lead in the 3rd quarter.
Well, West Virginia hoping for their 3rd undefeated season in the last decade.
You know, you and I did a game there earlier where they shut out Maryland 13-0, gave up only 61 yards total offense. Their defense is legit. I mean, that is an outstanding group.
Never out of the game with that group. Play fake, and Sauter looks over the middle in a crowd, and maybe it's fortunate for him that he overthrows Greg Nelson.
Michigan had 7 guys in coverage, and once again, right where they're supposed to be. They did not get fooled by the play action fake. And the secondary, even though they've given up some yards, they have not given them up in crucial situations. The young men from Michigan have been very good today. Interesting point too with regards to the secondary. As you see the numbers of Sauter, we showed the no body fat of Minnesota. On the other hand, the 4 secondary members all around 200 pounds. In fact, one of them over 200 pounds. So they are sure tacklers, outweighing their counterparts by nearly 30 pounds per man.
2nd and 10. They run the delay, which has brought pretty good results tonight. Thomas Hamner gives him about 7 yards and crosses midfield.
And that's Marcus Ray, the safety, as we pointed out, 6 foot 205 pounds, a big body coming up on a big body.
Ray 602.05. Taylor, the other safety, 192. There's the crowd around Herkenhoff, who appeared, Todd, to be putting some weight on the leg. The left ankle is the problem. Normally, when you see a guy cut down like that from behind, it's the knee. But in this case, we're told it's the left ankle.
Well, obviously, the weight on it is a bit too much, and really, that's a loss. That's the left tackle. That's the blind side of Sauter.
3rd and 3. Big catch and run, Nelson. And another first to the Wolverine 38.
That play has been effective because Michigan gets caught in their zone backing up. He comes underneath the coverage, makes the catch, and runs forward for the first down. 3-step, easy throw, easy catch, cuts back to the middle of the field. Irons makes the tackle, but not before. Another first down for Minnesota.
So at the moment, having to do without 2 of their key blockers, Herkenhoff and then the tight end Cradaville, both replaced, but the drive continues. Luke Blind, 64 at left tackle for Herkenhoff. As Irons comes on a blitz, Hamner gets loose.
Oh, what a move. Holy cow. What a move. He absolutely, David Bowens fell to the ground. The play was designed to go in the middle of the field, and Hamner cuts left. Take a look as he sees downfield. Great vision. Now watch the right of your screen, the move that he makes, and he drops Bowens, comes up and made the tackle. Oh, I don't think so. Right past him. I'm sorry, that was not Bowens. Instead, that was number 29, Marcus Ray, who got completely juked. Great job of getting him down nonetheless, because he had a lot of room there in the secondary of Michigan.
Yeah, that recovery saves him some yards. As it is, he settles for 7. And now comes right on a sweep, leaps across the 30, dropped it after he was already down. It'll be 3rd and 1.
Once again, the run support by Michigan, outstanding.
Let's check in again with Pam.
And another player being taken off by Cart, Luke Herkenhoff, the left tackle. Trainer says he has a sprained ankle. They're going to take him in and x-ray it. They're afraid that it might be fractured, and they're going to make sure. Dave?
Minnesota cannot afford losses along that front line. They have 3 first-year starters, very inexperienced, very thin. 6 for 11, picking up 3rd down conversions. They need only 1 here, and they pitch Hamner. This is going to be close, maybe close enough for a measurement. on a textbook hit by Marcus Ray. Hamner, in fact, has the first, no measurement needed.
I find it interesting because Corey Sauter, nobody is going to accuse him of being nimble-footed. At 6'5" and nearly 230 pounds, that's twice now on third downs they've run the option and been able to convert. But in that case, the second effort by Hamner is what got it for him.
You know, they call that the option. How much of an option is it really? I mean, he has no intention of keeping the ball.
No, you're right about that, but supposedly Michigan doesn't know that.
Well, they guessed it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But the drive alive at the 27 of Michigan. And this is a 17-point game. Here comes Bowens. Down goes Sauter. Second sack tonight and the 10th of the year for David Bowens.
Bowens is not fooled. They leave him completely untouched, and the reason for that is because they think he's going to be fooled by the play action. And of course, there, I'm not sure he was supposed to be untouched. I think the reserve tight end missed him in that case. The one thing Michigan has not done tonight, and Greg Madison does a great job of this, they have not been fooled on their keys. The play action has not fooled them at all. The misdirection obviously didn't hurt Bowens, who now has his 10th sack of the year.
Nice to have a guy out there, defensive end, who can run a 4.6. They got him at a stand-up spot now, dropping back into coverage. Sauter just avoids a couple of sacks and falls forward to the 35-yard line, where he's going to be third and a bunch.
Part of the problem there, you got to be frustrated if you're Minnesota. They rush 3 and drop 8, and they're still able to get pressure, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do. You can see he's not very happy about it, and the reason for that is because he says, hey, how can they get pressure on my guy when I keep 6 in and they're only rushing 3? Obviously, the injuries to the offensive line and the tight end have certainly hurt them in pass protection.
That may have been the last play of the third quarter. So as it comes to a close, they'll change ends, and Minnesota will have time to discuss a 3rd and 19 as we head to the 4th in the Metrodome. 27-10 Michigan. So to the 4th quarter in the Metrodome. Dave Barnett, Todd Christensen, Pam Ward, pretty much as expected. Michigan coming in about a 2-touchdown pick, and they lead 27-10, but Minnesota with 15 minutes in which to make it interesting. They have 3rd and 19 from the 36, and what will be interesting now as David Whitboat looks on is, do they settle for just getting in field goal range? They need 3 scores. Pressure comes on, and another dropped interception opportunity, this time by Hankins.
Well, that was the play that had been so effective. Michigan does a great job of coming up with a different set. They had a zone blitz. You can see, look at Carr. There's Carr, the nose guard, coming back in coverage. Obviously, they weren't prepared for that. Give Greg Madison credit. He is putting together some very different schemes, and now the onus is upon Adam Bailey to pump through another long kick.
Boy, they have made him play long ball tonight, haven't they? Close on a 56-yarder. He hit a career-long 49. This will be 53 to get him within 14. And not nearly enough leg. And Adam, a little bit upset with himself.
He started a little bit early. He should have waited with his 3rd step. You had to figure that there's no way Michigan is going to attempt to block this, because they certainly don't want to jump off sides and give him an extra 5 yards. The young man can have a shot to take a little bit more time. Watch, he hurries that once. See, just as the ball just got down, he needed to give it maybe another 1/10 or 2/10 of a second. You can see right there he's frustrated because he didn't get all of it, and it fell far short. Of course, the flip side of that, which is bad for Minnesota, is that now Michigan sets up at where the ball was at the 36.
Reisbach off the fake to Williams, deep for the tight end, and here goes Tooman. Touchdown for Jeremy Tooman, unless they mark him out at the 1, and they will. Oh, they're not going to give him the 6. 63 yards is what he'll have to settle for.
Misdirection play, if you recall, in the first half. Earlier, they threw to the other tight end, Tooman, deep. This time, they suck him up. Take a look at the throw right on the money to Tooman. The misdirection fools everyone, and he wants to put on his burst of speed. He wants to show people that he can go the distance, and I'm going to do it. And right there, maybe I'm not nuts. Actually, he was out of bounds at the 2, so they actually gave him a yard benefit. But let me tell you something. As a tight end or wide receiver, you certainly want to get your stat in a long touchdown catch. You know, 70 for a touchdown, or in this case, what, 65 for a touchdown, looks a lot better than just a 64-yard gain.
Walking in for the score is John Ames. True freshman out of Kentwood, Michigan, who had a big day earlier this year against UCLA. 83 of his 87 yards on the season, in fact, came against the Bruins. His second career touchdown, and Jim Wacker starting to feel the obvious.
And what's impressive about this young man, he does not turn 18 until next month. He is truly a youngster. Somebody that Lloyd Carr wants to get integrated into the offense because of his power at 240 pounds.
Hamilton's kick is good. How many 17-year-olds have a couple of touchdowns for a top 10 program? There's a marker down on this extra point, as you see. Ames as untouched as you can be on the 1-yard score.
That certainly took a lot of the spirit out of Minnesota with the long pass to Tooman.
We have running into the kicker, 5-yard penalty. It will be assessed on the kickoff. Point is good.
So 14:37 to go in the Metrodome. 34-10.
College football is brought to you by Best Buy. Just the store you've been shopping for.
Kick it out of the end zone.
Lovely look at the state capital of Minnesota in St. Paul. Just across the river. John Ames makes it 34-10 Michigan on a 1-yard run. And it gets awfully quiet inside the Metrodome. Jay Feely has yet to allow a return, and his kicks are getting even deeper. Let's go down to Pam Ward.
Luke Herkenhoff back on the bench now. His ankle has been x-rayed. The x-rays have arrived on the sideline. They've yet to be examined. They're taking him over to the trainer right now. But Herkenhoff is definitely done for the game, and I'll let you know as soon as we know about the x-rays. Dave?
All right, Pam, that would mean Luke Gleim probably the rest of the way at left tackle for Minnesota. And the junior from Albany, Minnesota, has it all over his face, the disappointment. Not only that he can't finish it out, but that's the result on the scoreboard at the moment. Sauter under center, 4 wideouts, pump fake, and a toss to Nelson. Sure tackling Minnesota secondary. Hankins knocks him out of bounds.
A name that we haven't called much in the second half has been Ryan Thelwell. He was somebody who had 5 catches for over 100 yards in the first half, but is yet in the second half has not notched a grab, I don't believe.
Nope. He is working on a second half shutout at the moment. 5 for 106 in the first 2 quarters, though. But they've got him hooked up with Mr. Woodson. And that's had a calming effect on Ryan. Draw play, and Hamner squeezes through where it didn't appear there was a whole lot of room. He's got first down yardage to the 36. A gain of 9. Thursday night college football returns to ESPN on Halloween night at 7:30 Eastern, the weekend kickoff show. And then at 8, it's Boston College flying into Pittsburgh to tackle Billy West and the Pitt Panthers in a Big East battle.
So what are you going to be on Halloween? What are you going to go as? Don't tell me you're going to go as a play-by-play man. That's not right.
Well, I'm thinking maybe I'll go as you. We'll get out the shears this week.
All right. I don't know if you can lift that much in 3 days, but okay, give it a shot.
Well, we'll concentrate on the neck up, maybe. Hamner cut down by Joaquin Fazell.
True story. 10 years ago. I had these friends that said, hey, you know, for years I'd listen to these people say, hey, why don't you go as a football player? And I said, oh, that's just so lame. So finally, I just did it. I went down to the practice field, got my uniform, and just got dogged. Said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. What's wrong with you? So since then, I haven't gone as anybody.
So you're cashing it either way.
Wow.
For not doing it and then for doing it.
I think I'll go with Sergeant Carter. You have the right idea. Maybe Sergeant Bilko.
Sauter has one picked off. They finally hang on to one, and this is Hankins, who brings it back to the Gopher 36.
He had Hamner on the swing route and tried to make the touch throw, but the safety was sitting there waiting for it. Hankins does a good job of reading the eyes of Souter. Tries to loft it up, and he's just able to play center field. Souter needed to give that one a little bit more air and to the outside. Hankins brings it back, and as you pointed out, Souter actually has been pretty lucky this evening. A lot of them have gone through the hands of Wolverines, but in this case, Hankins makes the pick and has a pretty nice run back as well.
First pick of the year for Woodrow. Dreisbach remains the quarterback. And this is Chris Floyd. First time we've called his name. The fullback reaches the 25, then driven back. But enough for a first down on an 11-yard gain for the junior from Detroit.
You know, Dave, I would have to say that the people that have been beefing about the running game of Michigan after tonight certainly can't be as upset. You know, the offensive line has been assertive, and a wave of people have come in and done well. You've had Howard, you've had Williams. Now the youngster here gets an opportunity and busts up the field. I mean, wave after wave of runners have come in and been outstanding for Michigan.
And there it is, 218 on the ground. Floyd manages about a yard. Akbar caught him from behind. In this day and age, Ty, when was the last time you saw a team leading by 24 points in the fourth quarter having thrown just 10 passes? I mean, that's a flashback to 20 or 30 years ago.
Really is. But again, you know, that certainly was part of the game plan. And it's not as if Dreisbach has been throwing ineffectively. It's just that the offensive line has been so effective. Why take chances? If it ain't broke, well, you know.
Sticking with what works.
Yeah, there's something like that.
Outstanding work by that big offensive front. Howard almost tripped behind the line of scrimmage. And Gang tackled at about the 16-yard line. UCLA and Cal, what's happening out west, Mike Adamley?
Well, Dave, after a Pat Barnes touchdown pass brought the Golden Bears to within 3, UCLA took more licks with Skip Hicks. The perfectly executed screen pass, and it helps if you have great speed like Skip does. He goes the distance. The Bruins back on top by 10.
Here, 34-10 for the 10th-ranked Wolverines, who will hope to move up. Floyd. And a little extracurricular after the hit. But no flags down. Now, Alabama, with its first loss, you know, they'll drop a bit. Michigan hoping to improve, should they hang on here, and certainly expect them to 6-1. But most of their Big Ten schedule still ahead of them, beginning next week with Michigan State. And they will close with both Penn State and Ohio State. So if they're still in the top 10 when it's all said and done, they will have earned it.
And Michigan State's no slouch either. Very impressive today over Wisconsin, who obviously was still feeling the residual effects of another Northwestern come from
Well, look at big Chris Floyd carrying the pile. Took 2 or 3 to wrestle him down. At the 9, it finally ends.
Well, the Minnesota people have been on the field an awfully long time. A lot of fatigue setting in, and he's able to bust through some arm tackles.
As we said, next week for Michigan, they have the Paul Bunyan Trophy on the line against the Spartans. It'll be at Michigan Stadium. ABC telecast at Purdue, home for Penn State. And so many years it comes down to Michigan, Ohio State. Could be the case again this year, depending on how many more survival jobs Northwestern can pull off. They will again close out on November 23rd with the Buckeyes. Good open field hit. Jerome Davis knifing in to knock down Chris Howard.
Now I wonder if they're just content to run the ball, if they're going to go with a play action fake here and give Dreisbach a chance to throw it into the end zone. Howard, it was surprising he was going to come in. Floyd actually asked out because he was a little bit tired, and I'm thinking to myself, why did he do that? If I'm a youngster, get a chance to get to the end zone, I want to stay out there. Be interesting to see what the call is here as to whether or not they're going to go up top or stay in the ground game, content with their 24-point advantage.
tight ends and only Howard behind Dreisbach. Well, pretty well telegraphed what his intentions were there. He was going to hang up a fade pattern for 6'2" Ty Streets. But the 5-yard mark off will send it back to the 15.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
You know what I like to see here? Quarterback draw. Dreisbach is a terrific run. Oh, sure. You know, because the clock keeps running. You've got 3rd, and, you know, you're at the 16-yard line. I think that would be, I don't know. Just thought I'd mention that. Sounds good to me. I'd like to see it.
Well, we'll see. He is a threat. Got a 72-yarder to his credit this year. He knows what to do with it. 5th Michigan penalty, 25 yards. Minnesota just 1 for 5 yards tonight. Off the play fake. Could keep, decides to throw and overthrows Russell Shaw.
Two-man pattern, the misdirection that they enabled Tooman to get the touchdown with. And in this case, they go the 2 wide receivers on the opposite side cutting across, but give Minnesota credit. They backpedaled to the end zone, had it covered, and this will give Hamilton a chance to move up on the scoring leaders at the University of Michigan.
He has tonight passed Anthony Carter, 4th all-time on the Wolverine scoring list.
Well, his 10 for 15 is also deceptive because 3 of those 5 misses have been blocks.
And this one he just does tuck inside the upright. So Hamilton with the field goal extends the margin to 37-10 Wolverines. Well, apparently Corey Sauter may be done for the night. That's Billy Cockerham, redshirt freshman out of Clayton, California, warming up, and he may be about to head into action. Jay Feely finally is going to have one returned, although 4 yards deep is where Carter started the return, and it was not a good decision. He only reaches the 16. Well, if the X Games weren't enough for you, tune in to Destination Extreme as it presents Destination Extreme, presented by Slim Jim. Athletes compete in events ranging from BMX to inline skating. Destination Extreme only on ESPN2 Monday at 9:30 Eastern.
Well, evidently the warm-up on the side was just for show. The Sauter is going to stay in and more than likely go over 300 yards. See the numbers right there, pretty impressive.
Of course, Minnesota in mostly close games this year. Cockerham has yet to attempt a pass. Javon Jackson pulling it out of the backfield. Driven out by Woodson. Gain of about 3.
Interesting story with regards to Javon Jackson, the young man who was supposed to be the starter for Minnesota, and then he had an injury. And of course, when Hamner came in and did the things that he did, averaging over 100 yards a game heading into this game, he entrenched himself as a starter. And when Jackson came back healthy, couldn't get his spot back. But to the credit of the coaching staff, they still get him in because he can make some contributions.
Hamner, 19 carries, 70 yards. 5 catches as well. Had a decent evening. Driven down by Glenn Steele. And will be close. May have a first down at the 27. Well, Jim Wacker's 5th and final year of his contract. And he knew going in the type of expectations that he and his staff would be working under. 5 wins, hopefully 6, but 5 is the number that you continue to hear. He's got to hit 5 to probably have an opportunity to come back and get a second contract at Minnesota.
Well, the idea was that in 5 wins, apparently the press was not supposed to know about this, but it was revealed through a letter that he would receive a 2-year extension if he did win 5. And you take a look at the remaining games, needs to win 2. Obviously tonight is not going to happen. Difficult road to hoe there. But then again, in the Big Ten, it always is. Illinois, which many feel, I mean, look, Indiana very competitive with Penn State for 3 quarters. Illinois almost beating Northwestern today. But there are no gimmies in the Big Ten.
And tonight, notwithstanding, a lot of the games that are supposed to be blowouts aren't. As the league has played out this year. 2-2 Atwell reaches the 35. Look at Indiana. For the longest time today, they were giving Penn State fits, and then they end up blowout losers, but the score really doesn't tell the story of the game. Minnesota's had pretty good success of late against Wisconsin, although they traveled to Madison this year. Illinois, they will consider a winnable game. Iowa as well, so still holding out hope. This is Evans, and with second effort, Byron Evans, a redshirt freshman out of Texas City, Texas, will have another Minnesota first down. Former Houston area player of the year for a state finalist high school club. Rushed for only, or a little under, 1,900 yards his senior year.
I was about to say only 1,900.
I meant over.
He's been very impressive tonight. He had the 5-yard touchdown run, and twice now he's had first down carries with some special second effort.
They need a big back like him. 209 pounds. They don't have many like him. Swarm probably will lose 1 or 2 here. Catch NFL Countdown tomorrow as Boomer and the boys, the McGinty family, will kick off your day at 11:30 Eastern. And among the topics, will Jimmy Johnson return to haunt Dallas? Former Heisman Trophy winner Ty Detmer, is he for real? And Steve Young, how healthy is he?
Is it just my imagination, or are those two BYU quarterbacks, huh? Not bad. Not bad. They produced a few. And don't say no receivers. I knew that was coming. I knew you were going to say that. They didn't produce anybody that could catch the ball, or they could produce a lot of throws.
From the shotgun, time for Sauter, but he's going to keep it and get cut down by Marcus Ray, up from strong safety. Always interesting when guys like Marcus Ray from Columbus, Ohio, signed with Michigan, or
Ann Arbor
vice versa. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's always an interesting decision.
Well, I think, what I think a lot of it has to do with is you're just so inundated with the lore of that particular community that maybe by the time you reach 18, you go, enough, I'm gone.
Evidently so in his case. Yeah, you're either so steeped in it you can't wait to take part,
right,
or you can't wait to get away from it.
That's it, exactly.
In this case, Lloyd Carr took advantage of Ray's desire to leave Columbus. 3rd and 8. Sauter for Atwell, and a flag is going to be thrown, although the pass was underthrown. It's going to work out okay. Interference will be called on Andre Weathers, who is Woodson's backup at the weak side corner.
Good looking catch by Atwell, coming back to the ball and getting his hands underneath. You mentioned at the outset that the two Wells had to have big games for Minnesota to be competitive.
Pass interference, defense, spot foul, automatic first down.
And certainly Felwell started out that way, but in the second half both have been relatively quiet.
Minnesota coming in had split 2 games against ranked opposition. They beat number 23 Syracuse here 35-33. Lost at number 15 at that point Northwestern 26-24. Evans to the 46.
A little frustration on the part of Evans. I think he tripped over his own man. Had a good running start. I think he tripped over his guard.
They had a run of 4 consecutive games go down to the final minute, all decided by 3 or less until the Michigan State debacle last week. Having split those 4 close encounters. And they've been a good second half team, which gave them some hope at the half. But none of it working this evening. Sauter hanging this one too deep and overthrown, intended for the tight end Tangen.
And that's too bad because they had him right in the seam where they wanted him, but Sauter overthrew it. Woodson not in the game now. You saw Weathers taking his place. Evidently Woodson is done for the night. I don't believe it's an injury. Just an opportunity evidently to give Weathers some playing time.
I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to see him on the offensive side tonight.
I'd have to say they didn't need him.
They definitely didn't, and they've done a good job spacing out his appearances, because at this point the element of surprise is long gone. When he's on the field, unlike early in the season, people know exactly what's coming. He's run it 4 times for an average of 35 yards. He's caught 5 passes. And they don't get that snap off in time. Did they get the timeout called in time? Evidently they did, and will break with 4:55 to go in the Metrodome. 37-10. Earlier, Pam Ward was digging fairly deep into the treasure trove of Minnesota football history. Here's what she came up with.
Dave, a lot of younger fans may not realize the great football history at the University of Minnesota. I'm here at the Gibson-Nagurski Football Complex. The Nagurski stands for Bronco Nagurski, one of the greatest players in the history of the game. He was here in the 1920s. In 1929, he was the first and only player to be named the consensus All-American at 2 positions at the same year, offensive tackle and fullback. In addition to some great players here at Minnesota, there's also been some great teams.
There have indeed, and for a lot of people who go back just a few years, that name is synonymous with football.
Tough guy from International Falls. He could knock you down. He was a member of the Monsters, the Midway, with the Chicago Bears.
Red Grain said getting hit by Bronco Nagurski was like getting an electric shock. Not an experience you savored. 3rd and 7 after the timeout for Sauter. Play fake, trouble, down at the 49-yard line. On the sack, it's Clint Copenhaver up from outside linebacker, and the 5th sack recorded by the Wolverine D tonight.
That's the 26th sack that the offensive line of Minnesota has given up. And again, difficult for Sauter because the replacements in the offensive line. The protection just broke down.
.24 sacks on the year by Greg Madison's defense. And they forced the apparent punt by Steve Kemp. Boy, he wanted to hang it up, but not quite this short. Does get a good bounce, and it's returnable for Winters up to the 28 with 4:06 to play.
That's a heads-up play by Winters, because otherwise that ball probably rolls down inside the 5-yard line, kind of like the punt that Pam Ward had in the pregame situation with myself and Dave Robinson. Down to the 1-yard line, it cost me $1. She beat me in that competition.
Nailed that one.
Nailed it. It was awesome.
Well, Kemp matches his number here with the 26-yarder, and we will see Brian Greasy take a turn at quarterback. Dreisbach, as we mentioned, for this meeting last year and for most of the season, was out with a torn ligament problem in his throwing thumb, and so Greasy got most of the season. And against the Gophers last year, 14 of 19 for 271 yards and 4 touchdowns. This year he has only thrown 3 passes because Dreisbach, for the most part, has been the picture of health.
Although there you can see he's got the ice on the non-throwing elbow.
And talk about throwing and getting the most out of it. Look at that, 18.4 yards per attempt.
You know what? I'm pretty sure that that's his percentage is
right at about 80%.
Yeah,
about.
You're right.
Ian Gold carried for 4. 2nd and 6. Gold again. Good hard style. It's straight into Rufus Smith. Keeps the legs driving. And we'll bring up about a 3rd and 1. Injured Golden Gopher, and there have been a few of those. Another one is down. And this is Craig Scruggs, the cornerback.
He's had to come up all night long with his 5'10", 170-pound frame and take on all these big 220, 230-pound runners. It's taken a toll on him, needless to say.
Well, if they can keep that guy around, there's some hope for this defense. Tim Rose coordinated at Memphis and Cincinnati some outstanding units. Memphis, the number 3 total defense nationally, both 92 and 94. Cincinnati shut out over Virginia Tech last year. Craig Scruggs ran off the field, and Michigan's ready to go after the timeout. 3rd and 1. Gold again. Stood up by Park Williams, but should have the first down. Where they give him forward progress, he's got it. Ian Gold, a freshman from Belleville, Michigan, 6'1", 200. And after Greasy took a couple of snaps, we now see Tom Brady, redshirt freshman quarterback from San Mateo, California. Rufus Smith, the latest Gopher in a continuing series to be shaken up, and they're out tending to him now. Here's Tom Brady. They say his size and his mobility remind him a little bit of a guy named Elvis Gerbach. It's his second action of the season. You see limited numbers in limited activity.
That's kind of a short stint for Greasy.
Well, neither one has really had any serious time at all this year. Brady 6'5", 215. The last Minnesota win in this series 10 years ago, as Ricky Foggy outbattled Jim Harbaugh. And Minnesota knocked off then top-ranked Michigan on a last-second field goal. On the catch, Aaron Shea, a backup tight end.
Aaron Shea evidently went out of bounds before he dropped the ball. Misdirection play that's been so effective for Michigan all night long. They run it again. And now, just as I mentioned, Greasy not getting the opportunity. You know what? Evidently they wanted to give Brady that one play, that opportunity to throw that one pass.
Greasy with the give. Ian Gold hit hard as he reaches the line by Nate Pearson. Freshman backup linebacker from Hutchinson, Minnesota. Brian Greasy, not a lot of people I think are aware, he originally enrolled at Michigan as a non-scholarship player. Decided he wanted to walk on and take his chances at Michigan. The quarterback shuttle continues. Brady now back in. Clock rolling, 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Should they decide to use him, the Gophers still have 2 timeouts. Gold in motion on 3rd and 2, and Brady on the roll. Delivers incomplete. Intended for Marcus Knight.
Well, Brady wanted to show his arm because he certainly could have run for the first down there. He had the misdirection, had the clear field in front of him, and only had the one-man pattern, but we wanted to see if he could get the comeback, and came up just a little bit short. And who can blame him? You don't get that much of an opportunity, so I run for 3 yards.
Sure.
You know, I want to see if I can throw it downfield.
Well, that stopped at just under 2 minutes.
So they're going to go for it here at 4th down and about 3. Obviously, Lloyd Carr wants to see if the young quarterback can deliver in a somewhat pressure situation.
Brady. Great drop. And Shea makes the catch and will have the first down to the Minnesota 46-yard line.
Shows some good composure, staying back in the pocket, waiting for his tight end to clear. Delivers it right on the money.
So now out goes Brady. In comes Greasy.
This is from the old Dallas Cowboy playbook. Remember that?
I definitely remember
We're going to do that. Eddie LeVere and Don Meredith, right? When they shuttled the quarterbacks in?
Most recently, 1971, Craig Morton and Roger Staubach in a game at Soldier Field against Chicago every play. And then right after that, Landry decided enough of this and gave the job to Staubach, and they didn't lose again that year. Let's go down to Pam Ward.
All right, Dave, we talked about this being the game for the little brown jug, and there it is. They've been playing for this thing since 1909. A water jug literally left on the field here by Michigan. Minnesota said if you wanted to get it back, you'd have to win it back, and they've done it more often than not. One of 3 trophies that Minnesota plays for, also with Iowa, the Floyd, or 4 trophies, one of 4 trophies they play for. Floyd of Rosedale used to be originally a pig. The governors between Iowa and Minnesota bet on a real pig once. It's now a bronze pig. Then there's Paul Bunyan's axe with Wisconsin, and just a couple of years old, the governor's victory bell with Penn State. And of all 4 of these series, Minnesota only leads in the Floyd series with Iowa. But the little brown jug becoming a little blue jug, about to be the 10th time in a row Michigan's won it. The first time one team has ever done that.
Greasy deep for a touchdown to Marcus Knight. 40 yards with 30 seconds to go. And you hear just a few boos from the Minnesota fans who are still here, and no doubt Jim Wacker not enjoying a touchdown pass in a game that had long since been decided.
Well, you have to wonder that, you go for a 4th and 3, not a big deal, but the play action, he throws the ball deep. The argument to which you would have here, good throw, and the ball's right on the money with the deep post. Nice catch, and he goes in for the touchdown. Good opportunity for Marcus Knight to show his wares. But, it's an argument you make over and over again. I've told the story before with regards to, they do play the game 60 minutes, but sportsmanship seems to be, in some cases, everybody has a different vantage point of what sportsmanship is, obviously. I would have thought that they would have been content just to run the thing out. I mean, nobody can accuse that man of being Bush League. Nonetheless, throwing a post pattern when you're up 37-10, I don't know that would have been my choice.
Well, you just didn't used to ever see it.
Right.
At the college level. More and more, it's not that uncommon. Coming up next, auto racing, figure 8 and rollover contest. Here on ESPN2, 30 seconds to go in what's now a 44-10 impending defeat for Jim Wacker and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. You know that Paul Bunyan theme repeats itself for Michigan next week. Sam told you Minnesota and Wisconsin play for the Paul Bunyan axe. It's an actual axe. And they write all the scores down the handle, and then the Paul Bunyan trophy will be on the line in the Michigan State-Michigan game in Ann Arbor next week. Seems like every rivalry they've got in the Big Ten, you're playing for something, which is kind of nice.
It is.
Well, with apologies to Bob Dole, that really is the most optimistic man in America.
Really is. Very upbeat. Fun to be around. Very charismatic. But certainly frustrated this evening.
Corey Sauter taking a little bit of a battering tonight, but he has had better than usual numbers. 36 attempts, 23 completions, 283 yards. And Billy Cockerham attempting his first collegiate pass, and just off the target, Lee Hutton with 24 seconds.
Hey, he had him. He gets it over the other shoulder, and he knows it. Difficult adjustment for Hutton to come back against it, but that could have been a good way for that youngster to get a little confidence.
Billy Cockerham's father, a former Cal assistant. He's from Clayton, California. 6'2", 209, a little bit smaller than Sauter. He has one more year to go here. Cochran, redshirt freshman. As is Byron Evans, and that may do it if Minnesota chooses to sit on their 2 timeouts. And the jug will remain in Ann Arbor for the first time ever in the history of this series. A 10-game winning streak, and it belongs to Michigan. By a final count of 44-10. The Wolverines figure to move up from number 10 as they improve to 6-1. For Todd Christensen, Pam Ward, and Mike Adamle, I'm Dave Barnett saying goodnight from Minneapolis with our final again, 44-10 Michigan. For a full recap of all of today's action, tune into ESPN for the Residents in College Scoreboard Show. Up next, the figure 8 and rollover contest. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.